Imagine waking up one morning in a life that looks perfect on paper. Your resume is impressive. Your marriage appears stable. Your children are well educated. Bills are paid. Career trajectory is solid. To anyone looking from the outside, you've made it. You've achieved what society told you to achieve. But inside, there's something terribly wrong. It's not sadness exactly. It's not clinical depression. It's something more subtle and more devastating. A restlessness that grows louder with each passing year. A feeling that the soul is suffocating under layers of obligations, expectations, and roles that were never truly yours. You're functioning, performing, succeeding even. But you're not there. The person everyone sees isn't you. It's a carefully constructed character you've been playing for so long, you've forgotten it was supposed to be temporary. This is what happens when you lose connection with your authentic self. And if you're feeling this right now, you're not broken. You're waking up. Your soul is screaming for rescue before it's too late. What you're experiencing has a name. It's the brutal consequence of living from what the psychologist Carl Jung called the persona, the social mask we all wear to function in the world. The persona is necessary to some degree. It allows us to navigate social structures, meet basic needs, and communicate with others. But when the mask becomes the identity, when you spend decades playing a character designed to please everyone except yourself, the authentic self begins to suffocate. This disconnection creates what appears to be a midlife crisis, but it's far more profound than a cliché. It's not about buying a sports car or having an affair. It's an existential emergency. It's the soul's last desperate attempt to save itself from complete erasure. Because here's the terrifying truth. If you ignore this call long enough, there comes a point of no return. A moment when the real you, the person you were before, you learn to perform, disappears forever. Most people reach their 30s or 40s having perfectly followed society's script. They worked hard, achieved goals, gained recognition. But upon arrival at these promised destinations, financial stability, social status, professional success, they find themselves staring into an abyss of emptiness. They realize they've spent decades becoming someone else. Someone their parents wanted. Someone their culture demanded. Someone safe, predictable, acceptable, but not themselves. Before we go deeper into this journey of reconnection, if what you're hearing resonates with something you've been feeling, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps this message reach other souls who desperately need to hear it. The question that begins to corrode from within is simple and devastating. If I'm not this persona everyone sees and celebrates, who am I really? And if I've spent 30 years building a false identity, how much time do I have left to find the real one? This video is not just theoretical analysis, it's a mirror. And mirrors show uncomfortable truths, but they also show what's still there waiting to be remembered. Your authentic self hasn't disappeared, it's been buried. And while it's still alive, it's waiting. But it won't wait forever. You didn't become who you are by accident. The person staring back at you in the mirror, with all your behaviors, your beliefs, your carefully controlled expressions, is the result of conditioning that began before you could even speak. Society needed you to fit in. Parents needed you manageable. Schools needed you obedient. Employers needed you predictable. So they shaped you. The molding started early. Boys learned that crying was weakness. Girls learned that anger was ugly. Curious students were told to stop questioning. Creative children were redirected toward practical paths. At every stage, pieces of your authentic self were trimmed away, filed down, or buried completely. The reward for compliance was clear approval belonging love, but it was conditional love. Love for the performance, not for the person underneath. This is how the persona takes form. It begins as a survival mechanism, a way to navigate a world that doesn't have space for your full, unedited existence. But over years and decades, something insidious happens. You forget you're wearing a mask. You begin to believe the persona is you. The professional who learned to suppress emotion to appear competent forgets they ever felt deeply. The parent who sacrificed personal dreams for family duty forgets they once had dreams at all. The agreeable friend who learned to never rock the boat forgets they have their own opinions. The deeper truth behind Carl Jung empath and personal development is this: every time you chose acceptance over authenticity, you committed a small act of self-betrayal. And those acts compound. They create an internal split where one part of you is performing for the world, while another part, the real you, watches in silent horror. This is dissociation. You keep showing up. You smile at the right moments. You say the expected things. But inside, nobody's home. There's a strange, uncomfortable awareness that everything is correct on the outside, but fundamentally wrong on the inside. You're living in a house that isn't yours, playing a role in a story you never agreed to write. The tragedy is that often these roles are celebrated. The woman who never says no is called selfless. The man who shows no vulnerability is considered strong. The young person who abandons their passion for a secure job is praised as mature. Society rewards self-erasure and calls it virtue. No one asks about the psychological cost. No one sees the soul slowly dehydrating behind the exemplary behavior. And here's where it gets truly dangerous. Over time, you become dependent on these roles. They give you structure, purpose, a sense of identity, even if it's false. The thought of removing the mask becomes terrifying because underneath it, you don't know what remains. If you're not the successful professional, who are you? If you stop being the perfect daughter, will anyone still love you? If you abandon the character, will you still exist? This is why so many people remain trapped, not because they don't feel the suffocation, but because the fear of emptiness is greater than the pain of pretending. Better to be someone false than risk being no one at all. But the soul has other plans, somewhere between 25 and 40. For most people, the authentic self begins its rebellion. It doesn't ask politely. It demands. It creates symptoms. The fatigue that doesn't respond to rest. The sadness without apparent cause. The irritation that has no clear source. The sense that you're in the wrong place, living the wrong life, but you don't know where or what the right one is. You look at your existence and think, I should be grateful. I have so much. But gratitude doesn't touch the emptiness. Because the problem isn't external circumstances. The problem is that you've been living someone else's life while your own life remains unlived. What you call depression or anxiety is often something deeper. It's the self trying to wake you up. It's not a chemical imbalance, though, that may be part of it. It's an existential crisis, the soul's emergency alarm. And the message is clear: this life is not yours. This routine, this job, this carefully maintained image, none of it is you. And if you don't respond soon, the person you actually are will be lost. Most people spend their lives running from their shadow. The shadow in psychological terms is everything about yourself you've deemed unacceptable. The anger you were told was inappropriate. The ambition labeled as selfish. The vulnerability dismissed as weakness. The desires considered impractical or immature. Every time you judged a part of yourself harshly and shoved it into darkness, it became part of your shadow. But here's what makes the shadow so powerful: it doesn't disappear. It doesn't dissolve because you ignore it. Instead, it grows stronger in the dark. It sabotages you in ways you don't consciously recognize. The impulsive decisions that seem to come from nowhere, the sudden outbursts that don't match the situation, the self-destructive patterns you can't explain. These are often the shadow, trying to be seen, trying to be integrated back into your wholeness. The path of reconnection demands that you face what you've buried, not to eliminate these parts of yourself, but to reclaim them. Because when you reject aspects of your own nature, you fragment yourself. You become partial incomplete. And that incompleteness is what you feel as emptiness. There's a profound principle at the heart of depth psychology. You don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, healing doesn't come from transcending your humanity or pretending you're beyond difficult emotions. It comes from descending into what you've avoided, feeling what you've suppressed, and acknowledging what you've denied. This is the conscious descent. It's not a spiritual bypass. It's not about positive thinking your way to wholeness. It's about the courage to look directly at the life you've constructed and ask brutal questions. Is this mine? Or did I just accept it because it was expected? If no one were watching me, if there were no consequences for disappointing others, how would I actually want to live? What parts of my life exist only because I'm afraid of judgment? Who was I before I learned to be ashamed of myself? These questions act like surgical tools. They cut through the structures you built for protection, revealing what's underneath. And what's underneath is often painful to see. You might discover you've spent 20 years in a career that numbs you. You might realize your closest relationships are built on who you pretend to be, not who you are. You might face the fact that you've been living for a future that keeps receding, always tomorrow, never today. The conscious descent means stopping the performance, not necessarily quitting your job or ending your marriage, though sometimes that becomes necessary, but stopping the internal lie, stopping the pretense that everything is fine, admitting that you're exhausted from being someone else, acknowledging that you've betrayed yourself in the name of peace, security, or acceptance. This is where many people encounter the deepest resistance, because to truly face yourself means accepting loss. Some relationships won't survive your authenticity. Some people in your life only love the version of you that serves them. When you stop performing that version, they'll be disappointed, angry, or confused. They might leave. And that loss is real, and it hurts. But there's another kind of loss that's far more devastating: the loss of your own soul. When you spend your entire life accommodating everyone else, there comes a moment when you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. And at that point, you haven't just lost yourself. You've become a ghost in your own life. The teachings within Carl Jung Empath and Personal Development emphasize this. The self has a limit to how long it can be ignored. It gives you signs, small rebellions, inexplicable sadness, sudden anger, a desire to disappear and start over somewhere no one knows your name. These aren't signs of weakness or instability. They're alerts, your last warnings that time is running out. If you continue to ignore them, the soul doesn't just give up quietly. It tears everything down. The crisis you've been avoiding erupts anyway, but now it's more destructive because you waited too long. The breakdown happens not because you chose consciousness, but because unconsciousness became unbearable. There's a window of opportunity. Right now in this moment, if you're feeling that restlessness, that dissatisfaction, that sense of wrongness, you're still in it. You still have time, but not infinite time. There is a point of no return, a moment when postponing becomes permanent. When someday I'll change becomes this is just how life is. When the fire inside you doesn't rage anymore, it just goes out. You begin accepting less from life. You convince yourself that your dreams were childish fantasies. That authenticity is a luxury. That happiness is an unrealistic expectation. You normalize the numbness. And this is how the authentic self dies. Not with drama, but with resignation. a quiet agreement that you'll spend the rest of your life as someone you're not. So, how do you actually reconnect? Not in theory, but in practice. Not someday, but starting now. The journey back to yourself begins with small, concrete actions. 3 initial movements that create cracks in the false structure you've built, letting light reach what's been buried. First, recover something that was yours. Think back to who you were before you learned to perform. What activities made you lose track of time? What made you feel most alive, even if it seemed useless or impractical? Maybe it was writing poetry, painting, playing music, studying philosophy, dancing alone in your room. Whatever it was, you abandoned it. You were told to grow up, be realistic, focus on what matters. But what if that thing was what actually mattered? What if that activity was the truest expression of who you are? Resume it. Not to be productive or achieve anything, just to remember. Spend 15 minutes this week doing something you once loved purely for its own sake. This isn't trivial. It's a breadcrumb trail leading back to your authentic self. Second, start telling small truths. Reconnection with yourself requires reconnection with honesty. You don't need to blow up your life overnight, but begin speaking your actual thoughts, even in small doses. Say no when you mean no. Say, I don't know, when you don't know. Say, this doesn't work for me anymore, when it's true. Each small truth strengthens your internal integrity. Each honest statement is a vote for your real self over your performed self. You'll feel fear doing this. Fear that people won't like you. Fear that you'll cause conflict. Fear that the love you receive is contingent on your agreeableness. And some of that fear is justified. Some people will be disappointed. Some will push back. Some relationships will change or end. But here's what you'll discover. The people who only loved you when you were convenient didn't actually love you. They loved what you did for them. And losing that isn't loss. It's liberation. Third, practice conscious disappointment. Accept that you will disappoint people. People who have grown comfortable with your domesticated version. People who benefit from your self-suppression. Parents who want you predictable. Partners who prefer you accommodating. Friends who need you unchanging. Your transformation will be uncomfortable for them. They'll call it selfish. They'll say you've changed, as if that's an accusation. They'll remind you of your responsibilities, your obligations, who you're supposed to be. But disappointing others is often the price of not disappointing yourself forever. And when you weigh those two outcomes, being true to yourself versus being comfortable for others, the choice becomes clear. Real life begins when you stop fitting in. When you accept that your authentic self is messy, unpredictable, and alive. After the false structures crumble after you've stopped performing, there's a moment of terrifying emptiness. The roles are gone, the masks are off, and you're standing on vacant ground, asking now what this is where the real work begins. Building a life that actually reflects who you are. Not creating a new persona, but giving concrete form to your authentic self. This means making choices based on internal truth rather than external validation. Choose activities that nourish your soul, not just pad your resume. Build relationships where you can be whole, not just useful. Make decisions that move you toward meaning, even when the path is unclear. Defend your inner space against the constant demands for performance. The framework of Carl Jung empath and personal development teaches that this reconstruction isn't comfortable. If you're comfortable all the time, you're probably still acting. The true self isn't domesticated. It has strong opinions. It has desires that don't apologize. It has boundaries that disappoint people. When you start living from this place, conflicts arise. With family members who want the old you back. With colleagues who don't understand your new priorities. With friends who feel threatened by your growth. Even with yourself, with the part that wants safety over truth. But these conflicts are signs of progress. They mean you're alive again. You're no longer numb. You feel fear, yes, but also excitement. You feel doubt, but also power. There's a different frequency to your existence when you're being yourself instead of performing yourself. In practice, this looks like daily choices toward authenticity. Morning journaling, where you write without filter. Body awareness practices, where you notice what your body knows that your mind denies. Emotion tracking, where you distinguish what you're actually feeling from what you think you should feel. Looks like rituals of essence. Meditation that isn't about achieving anything, just being with who you are. Time in nature that reminds you you're a living being, not a productivity unit. Creative expression painting or writing or music, not for outcome, but for process. Silence, real silence, where you unplug from everyone else's voices and finally hear your own. This path is lonely at first. There's no script, no guarantee, no external validation telling you you're doing it right. But there's something that makes it all worth it: truth. A life based on truth, no matter how challenging, is infinitely lighter than a life sustained by lies. The privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you actually are. But this isn't automatic. It's earned through daily choices, through tolerating discomfort, through losing some people so you can find yourself, through sitting with uncertainty instead of running to false security. You'll need to relearn how to listen to yourself. Years of ignoring your internal voice means it's become quiet, hesitant. You'll need to practice. What does your body say when you're in that meeting? What does your heart say about that relationship? What does your soul say about how you're spending your life? You'll need to endure the loneliness of not fitting in. When you stop performing, you stop belonging in places that required performance. That's painful, but it's also necessary, because on the other side of that loneliness is something far more valuable belonging to yourself. If you've followed this journey to this point, something has shifted. Maybe you can't name it yet. Maybe it's just a feeling. But there's a recognition happening, a remembering. This is what it feels like to be you. Not the performed version, not the one designed for approval, the actual you, the one who exists when nobody's watching, the one who has thoughts that don't ask permission, feelings that don't apologize, desires that aren't rational. What changes in this transformation isn't that you become someone new. It's that you remember who you always were. Underneath all the conditioning, beneath all the roles, prior to all the compromises, there was a person. That person is still there. And now, finally, you're letting them live. The new vibration of your existence includes both fear and excitement, doubt and power, uncertainty and aliveness. This isn't the false peace of numbness. It's the genuine experience of being fully present in your own life. Awake, responsive, real. You've gained self-respect, perhaps for the first time. Not the kind that comes from achievement, but the deeper kind that comes from integrity. You're no longer betraying yourself daily. You're no longer pretending to be someone you're not. And that creates an internal solidity that nothing external can shake. You've gained genuine relationships. The people still in your life aren't there because you're performing for them. They're there because they see you and choose you anyway. That's a different kind of love. Richer, more stable, more real. You've gained meaningful work, whether that means changing careers or just changing how you approach your current work. You're no longer showing up just for the paycheck or the status. You're engaged with something that matters to you. And perhaps most importantly, you've gained inner peace. Not the kind where everything is perfect, but the kind where you're aligned with yourself, where external chaos doesn't destroy you because internally you're integrated. What you've released is just as important. Others' expectations. You no longer carry the weight of what you're supposed to be. Inherited dreams. You're no longer pursuing goals that were never yours. Conditional love. You're no longer performing for approval. The exhausting pretense. You're no longer managing multiple false versions of yourself. Where you are now with masks on the floor, looking at the shards of your former life, you're at the most important moment. The moment of choice. You can try to put the masks back on. Convince yourself it was easier that way. Return to the familiar prison of performance. Or you can step forward into your authentic life. Uncertain. Imperfect. Fully yours. If you're at this point, comment below. It's time to be me. Let that be your commitment. Not to perfection, but to truth. Not to having it all figured out, but to showing up as who you actually are. The ultimate question remains with you. Now, will you have the courage while there's still time? 10 years from now, will you be living or performing? Will you be yourself or a character? Will you have answered the call of your soul, or will you have spent another decade pushing it away? Your authentic self is waiting. It's been waiting through years of compromise, decades of performance, countless moments of self-betrayal. It's still there, still possible, still yours, but it won't wait forever. The journey back to yourself begins now, not tomorrow, not when circumstances are perfect, not when you feel ready. Now, because the only time you ever have is this moment, and in this moment, you get to choose. Choose yourself. Choose truth. Choose life. The person you were before the world told you who to be is still alive inside you. Go find them. Bring them home. Let them live before it's too late.